All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, and we are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, to begin our conversation, which is on the 2-week deadline for the registration of SIM cards with the national identification numbers, let's listen to the views of some Nigerians as packaged by Oyemi Ajayi, our correspondent.
I'm aware about the 2 weeks ultimatum about the SIM registration, and my own personal view about it is I think it's okay for Nigerians to use one particular SIM so that they'll be able to identify each citizen in the country.
I think it's not a good idea. I'm a Nigerian by birth. When I was given birth to, they have details of my birth records. When I did SIM registration, they had a detail. We also have in the bank, before you open an account, they get some details from you. I think the government should employ most of all these young graduates who are IT experts. They know how to get all this information. If you want to do a driver's license, for instance, they get your details. If they can synergize all this, if there's a database where they will get all this information from, I think there's no point stopping or closing the SIM for any reason.
Yeah, it's actually a good idea to me, because there are so many fraudulent acts going on about SIM card issues in the country, and which really the country really have to make amendments to it and to make things move in order about our mass medias, telecommunication centers, where they are to encourage the system of communication to be in the appropriate way. So I think the idea is actually a good one.
The ultimatum is not quite okay, because quite a number of people could not be able to meet up the 2 weeks deadline. It's not possible anybody can meet 2 weeks deadline. But registration of SIM cards connecting to NIN is very important. Very, very important, and that should be done. But the time should be extended. That's the bottom line. Very good idea now. That's how it is in other countries now. You must be tracked with your phone and with whatever you have, with your BVN and your phone. You're supposed to be tracked. If it can't be tracked with your phone, that means you're a criminal. If you're hiding for someone to track you, that means you have intention to do bad thing. If you don't have any intention to do any bad thing, you have to give up all you have. Even your BVN, you can give it up.
All right. Thank you, Yemi, for that cross-section of opinions from Nigerians on this issue. And let's get started with our conversation. I'm told that we're expecting the Director General National Identity Management Commission here with us soon in the studio. But let me quickly welcome Mr. Esige Agwele, who's the Chief Executive Officer. Verify him, not me. Verify me, Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and also let me welcome from our Lagos Network Center, Gbenga Adebayo, Chairman, Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, ALTON. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Adebayo. Okay, and let me also, from Lagos via Zoom, Ikechukwu Namani is joining us. There he is, President, Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria. This is ATCON. The first one is ALTON. This is ATCON. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Namani.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, Kinsley.
All right, thanks. Let's begin with Engineer Gbenga Adebayo, who, of course, is a regular on Good Morning Nigeria whenever we are discussing matters relating to the telecom industry. Engineer Gbenga Adebayo, I'm sure you can hear us clearly. What is this whole issue about? Namely, get your SIM registered with your NIN, otherwise you are off. And we understand that stakeholders were consulted, and you, of course, represent critical stakeholders. So what is this all about?
Regulator is to integrate SIM card records with us with the national identification number issued by the National ID Management Corporation. And then the idea behind that is to have one uniform record for all Nigerians relating your phone number with your NIN number. It's a provision and requirement of the law, and what we've been mandated to do is to ensure that this happens and happens as quickly as it can. We are currently under a directive of having that done in 2 weeks, and we are doing all that we can to ensure that it happens. Let me say very clearly that this is not a new SIM registration exercise, not at all. SIM registration is completely different from national identity number. NIN is issued by the Identity Commission. We did registration of subscribers to know who are those on our network, and the government has directed, as provided by law, that those two records must now be harmonized. In essence, we now need to upload our subscriber records onto the NIN, integrate NIN number into our subscriber record in order to have one uniform national database. It's a provision of law. We've been on it for some time. We've been under some directive in times past to make it happen. We've been working with the National Identity Management Commission over the past year. And it's not something that is really new. It's just that the directive is now new. And given the effort that has been made in times past and up to now, we think that this is something that is possible. The 2 weeks mandate is a challenge, but we are pulling together as stakeholders to ensure that we minimize the impact on the average Nigerian.
Mr. Adebayo, the wisdom behind this, it's not in doubt. There's no question about it. I mean, everybody knows that basically it's part of security measures, to curb online fraud and, of course, terrorism measures. But what is of concern now is the fact that, according to NIMSI, about 79% of those who own mobile phones or who are mobile phone users do not have NIN. What does that mean to you in carrying out this directive?
We're not NIMSI, and that's actually a task for NIMSI. Our responsibility is to upload numbers or NIM number of individuals onto the database. So that's actually a question that NIMSI will have to answer. But the fact is that because we are working together as one digital industry, we are seeing all that we can do to assist NIMSI in this regard. We will start by uploading the 43 million thereabout records that are already existing on NIMSI database. We are seeing how to match that with the ones on our database. And like you may know, just on Monday, NIMSI opened up more centers. NIMSI announced opening of new centers where citizens' record can be captured. We think that with the expansion of scope in the area of locations where this data can be captured, it could make things easier and better. But the impact of that in a straight response to your question is that if those information is not available by the current directive that we have, those numbers may have to be disconnected at the end of the ultimatum that we currently have. That's the implication, actually.
Well, Engineer Adebayo, still with you. You say this has always been a requirement of the law. Why was there an apparent challenge in compliance with the clear provisions of the law by the telecommunications firms?
Not an infraction on our side, not at all. We are not identity management companies. We don't manage national identity. It is the Commission of National Identity Management Commission of Nigeria that is charged with that responsibility. Our responsibility under the law is to provide subscriber record, and rightly so, we have done that and we are doing that. That's why you recall in recent years we have done extensive and massive SIM card registration. By that, we as an industry have complied with the provisions of law. The law mandates NIMSI to register every citizen of this country. Now, government says that we have to integrate our record into NIMSI record and our record onto NIMSI record onto ours. And so the responsibility of having that, making that happen, is actually that of NIMSI. We have provided now interface to NIMSI to capture this, to capture those data onto our record, onto our database, and upload ours onto their database. So the fact that it didn't happen before now is the question that NIMSI have to answer. Certainly not for the telecom operators. Certainly not. We do have records of our subscribers, and that's why we have seen now that while we have over 170 million subscriber records on our database, NIMSI does have about 43 million or so. The responsibility of making that happen, to ramp up those numbers to equal the number of subscribers that we have, is certainly that of NIMSI and not that of the telecom operators. Not at all.
Thank you. Let's also join Ikechukwu Nnamani. That's the President, Association of Telecommunication Companies of Nigeria, ATCON. So, assuming that you, like Mr. Adebayo says, you're going to integrate or synchronize names with the SIM cards, how do you do that? Are you expecting your subscribers physical, in-person, to do that, or are you having a kind of collaboration, networking, without us having to be present at your centers?
Thanks for that. The main challenge, if I continue with what Engineer Adebayo have indicated, realistically is at the NIMSI side of the project. For telecom operators to upload the information to the NIMSI database is just a matter of giving the right channel for the data to be uploaded. That can be done in a matter of days or weeks. And that is why from the telecom operator side, meeting up with the 2 weeks deadline is not necessarily a problem. The problem is the fact that you have about 4 more times the number of people registered on the telecom network than you have on the NIMSI database. So what that would indicate is that literally Nigerians have to go and register at NIMSI. And whether 2 weeks is enough for that to happen is what, as Engineer Adebayo said, NIMSI have to tell Nigerians. It's really not as much a telecom operator's challenge in the area of implementation versus the fact that even if you upload all the current database into NIMSI, you're still going to have about only 25% of the telecom subscribers with NIMSI's number. I went through the process to get my NII number. I've registered in NIMSI. I remember when I was going through the process, I put my telecom numbers in there. So I'm captured under NIMSI's record as an individual, right? But currently, it's only about 25% of the telecom subscribers that are captured. The problem we see with that is if you now disconnect the telecom subscribers that are not already captured under NIMSI, to put it mildly, we're going to have a disaster in country. The reason is that today, the subscribers have gone beyond using their phones just to make call or access the internet. Many subscribers' banking details and transaction is directly tied to their mobile numbers. And that is where the challenge is. Yes. We don't want a situation where people are disconnected and they don't have access to the services they currently enjoy.
Okay, Kechukwu, thank you. I just wanted you to clarify that the data you have at the moment, the subscribers will not be required to be physically present, to update their SIMs.
We are not doing a new SIM registration. We already have the data on the telecom side and we can upload it into NIMSI anytime. The challenge is if the government says NIMSI have only captured only 43 million and you have over 170 million on the telecom side. So there is a number of people that have not been captured under NIMSI, and that is where the problem is.
Well, Ikechukwu Nnamani, thank you very much there for your elaboration. And let's welcome my colleague Claire. Earlier indicated that he was going to be part of this conversation and is right here with us in the studios now. Engineer Aliyu Aziz, Director General of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI. Pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay. But before we bring you into the conversation, I would like you to hear one more time what Engineer Benga Adebayo earlier said. Engineer Benga Adebayo is Chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria. Engineer Adebayo, you did say that what we are faced with in terms of the implementation of the provision of the law is actually something in the domain of NIMSI, and the DG is right here. And that for the 42 or 43 million Nigerians who have their NIN and are also subscribers to your members who are operators of the telephone networks, it will be easy, or that what you need to do would be to transfer the required data to NIMSI, or for NIMSI to bring whatever data they have to yours, and you synchronize. Am I quoting you correctly, or you may wish to restate it so that the DG can effectively respond to matters arising?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Please come again.
All right. I was saying that the DG NIMSI is here now. I'm sure you can see him you saw him a while ago on the screen, and if he's punched on, you'll see him much more clearly. And that before he came on, you had indicated that, look, this whole idea of synchronizing SIM cards and NIN is a provision of the law, and that implementing this new directive is more a challenge in the domain of NIMSI than with the telecom operators, because your subscribers, you already have their data and their detail, which you can forward to NIMSI, and whatever NIMSI has, NIMSI can also forward to you, and you synchronize everything. But that it is not your business to provide NINs, and for those who therefore are under-registered, and they're about 75% or more, that is where the challenge lies. Have I quoted it correctly? And you may wish to restate it.
Yes.
He said he had already, he's nodding.
All right, so,
I've said again that the industry has captured records of each subscribers to the extent of the number of subscribers that we do have. Record has it that NIMSI has about 43 million subscribers, citizens on their database. And so for us, it's just to have a handshake with NIMSI and to have the record uploaded onto NIMSI's database. So the task of getting NIN number is not in the responsibility of the operators, but that of NIMSI, because we do have record of our subscribers. I'm glad that the DG of NIMSI is here. I'm also aware that a lot of work has been done in the background, and even up to yesterday, we were together at a very long meeting discussing the details and protocols of how this will happen. But certainly, as a matter of emphasis, the task of getting NIN number is not that of the telecom operators, but it's that of the Identity Management Commission.
all right, DG NIMSI, Engineer Aliyu Aziz, let's get your response.
Well, thank you very much. What Engineer Benga says is correct, but I want us to understand why are we doing what we are doing. As you know, that SIM registration started since 2008. So this is 12 years. So even if you are capturing 10 million, we will have reached 120 million. NIMSI also started this current registration since 2012, and this is 8 years. So we will have covered the whole nation. But the most important point where we are now is about security of the lives of people, because wherever there is a crime, a SIM that is so important to us is also appears. And when the security agencies goes to check who owns the SIM, they always find out that it is an improper person. It's a different person that owns the SIM that is committed in the crime. So government's directive is that we should make sure that whoever that has a NIN must, whoever that has a SIM must also have a NIN, and that those NIN should be integrated. So is how do we do that? And as Alton chairman said, we have had series of meetings. We've been working together for a very long time. So it's only the final handshake that needs to happen. So, and to make it easy also for Nigerians. So any person that has NIN and has SIM, the person does not need to do anything. Actually, that for the 43 million people, then at the back end, we should be able to use our system and link those SIMs with the NIN. And also, people like me and you, we have more than one SIM. And therefore, that number is not really the number of the unique people that have the SIM. So if we integrate that 43 million, like I have 6 SIMs, then it will reduce the problem. Then the next kind of people is the people that have SIM, but they have not yet registered on and gotten NIN. And for these people, we have agreed, I came here several times, that we are to work as an ecosystem. Ecosystem means that all the functional system must be integrated with the national system. Therefore, it's the same person that we are capturing. It's not rocket science. We have been doing this for a very long time. All what it says that we should do it properly, and also that even the telcos themselves should capture following the standards, and that within these 2 weeks, let's make sure that all the centers where we have, in addition to the NIMSI centers, are also capturing people. Then we will have done sizable number and then go back to government that we have already handshake, this is where we are. That is what I think that we should focus on.
Are you concerned about the fact that COVID-19 is on the rise?
Yes, yes.
And there are, of course, warnings that we might be entering into, a second wave.
Yep.
Today we recorded over 1,000 cases.
Yeah.
And this is also a period of festivities. A lot of people would have to travel outside their official domains, and
Exactly.
probably would not be, would not be able to have access to your centers. So what happens? Should this be the right time to give a deadline of 2 weeks for this?
Well, as I said earlier, it's not the time per se, it's the life of people that we are considering here. So, and there's no time that someone will not die, whether it's festivities or whatever it is. But even yesterday, while we were having our meetings, and I have told them that they have been called by the PTF coordinator that we have to make sure that we follow the protocols. And we have been following this protocol, and we insisted that we should always follow this protocol. And wherever that people are, that we must follow this protocol, because COVID is real. And it does not mean that we shut down, but it is real, and we must just follow the protocol to do what we can. The point, as I said, 12 years down the line, we are still making excuses all the time. Let us do something, and the government will see that we are now, this time around, serious to make sure that every SIM is registered properly. That is just the message.
Kingsley, you read something on the papers this morning.
What was that?
About the names packing up COVID-19.
No, that's an alarm raised by the Nigerian Medical Association with regard to the likely breaches of the COVID-19 protocols that should ordinarily be observed. But how feasible is this? I mean, my colleague Claire was asking the question, we're in the holiday season. Next week, you have 2 days, most likely, that you're not going to have any activities whatsoever because there will be public holidays. You have Christmas Day, you have Boxing Day. I think Boxing Day is on Saturday. And on the eve of Christmas, mostly even financial institutions will be working half day. On the 31st, which is New Year's Eve, they'll be working half day. So the 2-week deadline, by the time you are bridged, you probably have, how many working days do you have? Or you are working Saturday and Sunday. That's one. In 8 years or so, or whatever number of years that we have been grappling with trying to get NIN, we managed to register 43. And for the particular cases of those who are subscribers to telephone networks, GSM networks, how do you intend to then deal with almost 150 million or even half of that number in 10 days or less?
Well, as I said earlier, that the issue is security issue that we are facing, and also agencies of government and also private sector working in silos, different silos, and that is what those walls that government intends to break those walls. So we should not bring too much excuses why we should not start to work. We agreed in the meeting that for the 43 million people that have multiple SIMs, we should be able to use technology to harmonize those numbers without disturbing those 43 million. Then the next people that have SIMs but don't have NIN, we should have a process whereby we have multiplied the number of centers that we have, and also allow people to make it easy for people to do that, and put it in our mind that it is the foundation that we are talking about. You know, identity is more than your financial records, because when it comes to your biometrics, it is highly given the highest level of security that you can take. I mentioned that we have to follow the protocol of COVID. If we don't, they will be shut down by the PTF itself. So there is no excuse that we should not do something. What I said is that within the 2 weeks, we should go back to government that we have started. We are able to electronically harmonize social SIMs, and we have also increased the centers that even the private sector are now capturing. So that is what we should go back to government, not to be telling government that these are excuses. Because
I think it's not a matter of, DJ, it's not a question of giving excuses that it cannot be done. It's just how realistic is the deadline, because any person who misses the deadline, there is a consequence. I mean, both Nnamani and Engineer Adebayo have said that they will comply with the directive. That is to say, if you have a SIM that is not synchronized with your NIN, then you'll be cut off. That is the consequence we are looking at.
Exactly.
And therefore trying to see how realistic it is the issue of the deadline and not whether it is desirable or not to have that. So I hope that is clear. But assuming that is clear, you may wish to explain further. There's one other point that you have often talked about whenever you have been our guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Getting a NIN is not the same thing as waiting to get your national ID card, the plastic one.
Exactly.
Just clarify that.
Yes, sure. The NIN is the basic, is the number, and all the communication, everything is being said about the number. And your identity is the number, it's not really the card. And government directives is on the NIN, because the NIN, we found out that all other countries too is the number that they emphasize on. In the US, it's called social security number. Everybody must have it from birth, and that is what you should use throughout. And that is why I say it's the foundation. So once we don't get this foundation properly, you know, I came here severally, even this year, on the jam issue. I came about on the COVID distributing palliatives. I came about on the visa that we. So once that this foundation is not set properly, then we will always come back to the problem. So let us focus on the NIN, only the number. And that is every citizen that has the NIN, that citizen does not need to do anything. We are talking about the people that have SIM now, but they have not yet gotten the NIN. And we are planning to then expand the network, including the network operators too, so that we should be able to capture people.
Okay, DJ, we would like for you, within this less than 2 weeks deadline, and given the number of people you have to capture,
Yeah.
what are your strategies? Can you give us your approach? How do you hope to do this?
Well, Benga have already mentioned the strategy because we had common meeting together, and that the first thing is that we're at the back end, we should be able to do something. And then secondly, then we should also open up the more centers. And then thirdly, also allow people that have to use a mobile app, which is in beta testing, that they can also use the mobile app to add all the other numbers that they have. So those are the main thing is on the 43 million people that already have NIN. Because if we do that, then you will see that more than 100 million SIM must have been.
What about, because you also need to capture the others that do not have NIN must also have it.
Yes.
Within 2 weeks. That's what I'm asking.
No,
Those that
what I said is that within that 2 weeks, we should start and capture sizable people. Then we go back to government and say, this is what we are able to do. And then ask government maybe for extension. So probably we may get another. How
many new centers have you now employed to be able to do this now? And where are they? How widespread are they?
On NIMSI's site, there are no additional centers because we have not added people or equipment. But what we did was to have a program, the ecosystem program, that we said all government agencies should capture, and including private sector. So we recently just released the list of companies and government agencies that we have already licensed. So those people will also come out and add centers. Then in addition, all the centers where the telcos have been selling SIM, all of them are equipped to do so, but they have not yet started. Okay. So let us make sure that all these centers also start to capture so that we can make it easy.
In other words, in addition to NIMSI centers for registration for NIN, and therefore the national identity card, you are having private entities that will also be capturing data.
Exactly.
And be issued with their NIN for those who have been captured.
Yes.
Plus telecommunication companies that sell SIM cards or that have sold SIM cards and have the capacity to capture the data of their customers.
Yes.
And that in capturing the data of the customers, they are also enabled to issue NIN, of course, from drawn from your master register.
Sure.
Is that correct?
Sure, it's correct.
All right. I know that CJ Aguele has been listening to all this, the Chief Executive Officer of Verify Me Nigeria. What are your thoughts on what is playing out?
My thoughts are, thank you very much for having me. It's the best way to go. The government has chosen a model that has been successful in other similar developing countries. A perfect example, I think, is if you take MTN and all the telcos, the 9 mobiles and their centers, potentially one center with 5 devices can do 1,000 people a day. Right, 1,000 centers across Nigeria, and if you just count all the telcos,
1,000 people spaced out, observing the social distancing protocol.
Yes, potentially. So there are ways that you can implement this where all the 1,000 are not coming at the same time. You know how many machines can process people in an hour, so you can definitely space that. And just even thinking about this model, in the beginning, 1,000 people a day in 1,000 locations, which we know we have, bringing in the ecosystem, you're already talking maybe 1 million people a day, and that's just the basic. And that's a very successful number if we can do that. So they've deployed the ecosystem approach. so that we can meet this national security gap that we have in Nigeria. As Digi said, it's really a twofold strategy. The first one is the harmonization, right? That's going to say, okay, all the people who have NINs, let us harmonize it with the SIMs and reduce the number. And I think that what's been said is we're going to find that the gap is not really 120 million SIMs. It's going to be a lot less than that. And then when we now see how many million we actually have in that gap, right, we'll actually be able to say, you know, given the size of our ecosystem now, maybe we have 3,000, 4,000 centers. We believe we can actually do this now in, you know, X, you know, number of days, X number of weeks. And just to add something about the 12 years, you know, in all countries, it's almost a human behavior thing. If you don't implement policies or pass policies to make people get their national ID, people are not going to get it. It's not about Nigerians or anybody else. It's just, you know, you pass policy. I think even, for example, in India, they tied it to social intervention. The way they were actually able to get 1 billion people to get their foundational ID is they said, well, you're not going to get any social services if you don't, you know, get your ID. This is what we're doing now. And so it's about supporting the ecosystem. We're very excited to be involved. We're going to be launching centers across Nigeria in the coming weeks as well.
One of the NIN capturing.
Yes,
private NIN capturing centers.
Exactly. So we're licensed by NIMC, and we will be capturing NIN and distributing NINs for Nigerians.
What do you capture before a NIN is issued to a registrant?
Okay, so the data sets are all prescribed by NIMC. So the standards, the data sets are all NIMC's, the technology. We're really just like a pipeline or distribution arm. I believe there are about 44 data sets. And then the biometrics, which is essentially the physical measurements, fingerprint, I believe sometimes iris and facial and image. These data sets, the biometrics and the demographic information are used basically to form your foundational identity, which NIMC is the holder of, and is basically the foundation of everything that's what you're going to have in Nigeria. So driver's license will build from it, passport would build from it, every other functional ID will build from the foundational ID that NIMC is providing. So those are the data sets. It's demographic information and biometrics.
How safe are these personal data with a private capturing you know, outfit like yours? I ask this because if you look at, for instance, the use of a mobile phone for online transaction, a lot of people have committed online transfers, you know, fraudulently, and even the affected banks are unable to resolve that. Do you understand? So, how safe?
Very safe. It's a good question. Very safe. And remember, first of all, that a bank is a private company, right?
Yes, they've not been able to resolve or seldom resolve issues, online issues. Yes.
But they're trusted. And so
if I go to a bank, whether for registration of BVN or opening an account, the bank doesn't know my height. Because it's not part of the information they require, unless they do now. When I first open my account, I'm just giving an example.
Yes, I'm not. All the 44 data sets. You know, sometimes on some IDs, so on driver's license, for example, they know your height. Maybe it's not a necessary data set.
The bank doesn't know my blood group.
Well, I don't think that.
I'm telling you, I'm just in my own case. Maybe in your case they do. But
yes,
saying,
but so for your foundational ID, so remember blood group, all this information, right, that we say about blood group. It's also trying to help. Imagine somebody in an accident, for example, going to a hospital.
That's why it's there in the driver's license. That's why it's there in the driver's license.
Exactly. So this is important information that can save lives. What I always say to people is that there is no model in the world where private sector was not involved in this type of initiative. It's impossible, right, for this to be executed solely by government. That's why there's an ecosystem. But what government has done, or government's responsibility, is regulation and governance, which is what is being done properly. So to make sure that the companies that do it, number one, are responsible companies and are functioning under the proper regulation, are functioning under our Nigerian data privacy protection regulations, and are compliant. These are the things that we need to do. Please note that in all countries in the world, the ID verification industry is a private industry, it's not a government one. They are the holders and we are the holders.
Because they're trusted.
Yes, and
Claire, the point is, you say ID verification.
Verification. And enrollment, yes.
Yeah, you said verification.
Digi
DG NIMSI, we still have our telecom experts who are with us from our Lagos Network Center. We'll return to them, but clarify this. Why has it become necessary to engage private entities for capturing data? And these are data that are basic and therefore fundamental to the individual. And in asking that question, I will also say, what is the role of the National Population Commission in all of this? Because the National Population Commission has constitutional and legal responsibility for civic registration. So couldn't all of this have been speeded up, by NPC has offices in all local governments. In those days when we were born, if you were lucky to have been born in a hospital, the hospital will give you a certificate. If you were born in the backyard, and our moms used to do that very frequently, you go and swear to an affidavit, but now you have registration. When you give birth to your children, you go to the local government headquarters and get them registered. DG.
Thank you very much. We want to go back to that same system that you have mentioned. If someone is born, the person should be given a birth certificate by the Population Commission. And that information will be sent to NIMSI, and NIMSI will give the citizen a social security number, which in our own case is national identity number. Okay? So that is where we should go back to. But the problem with Nigeria is that we did not do that for a very long time. Therefore, we have too much backlog. Okay? As you said, we have not been following the rules. So what we are saying is now that, as you mentioned, there's also time that it's the life of the people that matters. But when it comes to the data that you are asking him, NIMSI, currently we are capturing like 83 fields, including that height that you said so. But in the ecosystem that we want them to capture is only 10 fields that they are capturing. Because once that you have the biometrics is the most important. After that, you just need a label to say that this person has this data. Therefore, it's only your name, your date of birth, your address that will also change. Those are the things that we capture. Only 10 fields that we agree. Because, again, it is costly to capture all these things when we ask them to do that. Therefore, the minimum time that somebody spends to capture that person, the better. And as he said, we have started this process, even the process that he has talked about. Since last year, we advertised. And when the first time, we evaluated and then score people, and we thought that 60% and above is proper. When we went to BPP, says all what we have asked for are statutory. Therefore, any person that wants to do this exercise must score 100%. So the list that we brought out is people that have satisfied all the lawful requirements. So that is how you will start sieving who is a trusted person from fraudsters. And that is the process that we have been applying. And also we will use technology to manage all these things. As he says, in India too, they have done the same thing. And they have to have many agents to do the capturing. Also, even the Sajem one that we did in 2003, there were 63,000 equipment and ad hoc people that came out to do the capture. Now we are saying that all the responsible companies, all the responsible government agencies should also do this capture. Therefore, if you go to Population Commission, they will capture. You go to Immigration, they will capture. You go to Road Safety or PENCOM, all the other agencies under them too will be able to capture, because we are building a trusted system. Mind you also that just this Wednesday, Federal Executive Council also approved that World Bank facility that we've been talking about for very long time. So they just approved $115 million from the World Bank and 250 million euros from European Union. So that also came very handy. That it is a long process because we want to do it right. So that he has already mentioned there's also the data protection and also compliance. So all what we need to do is to make sure that all of us are working together to make sure that these things happen.
Did you, sometimes we just wonder why certain things we expect are not done. All the fields that you talked about that needs to be captured are also captured by other institutions, the FRSC. When you go for your license, plate number, they are captured. When you go for this, they are captured. Is it a difficult task to have a central, database where you...
That is the center that we are talking about. That is why we say since it is the same individual.
No, what I'm saying is where you don't even have to engage private entities, where you collaborate with these entities and then you pick what you need to pick. No. I don't know if I'm making sense.
So maybe I can help with that. It's making sense. I mean, because we're seeing it from a private sector perspective. So, there is a backlog. And as DG said, right, there's a backlog. This backlog needs to be dealt with. The Enrollment Services Initiative that you're seeing is not a forever initiative. It's to deal with the backlog, and then everybody goes back to the government collecting the biometrics as people are born and grow through Nigerian society or come into society. The problem we have is that for the past 20 years, things weren't done correctly. So we can start doing things correctly now as people are born through National Population Commission. But the point is there are 100 million adults that never went through that system. And you have to deal with the situation. So the center is NIMSI. And this center now has to be properly the infrastructure has to be properly built so that it can be the center that it needs to be for all the functional IDs to link to it. So, and this work has been ongoing for years. This, I think, is coming to a head with this huge initiative. I think it's kind of like the final step.
It must be done in the next 10 days. All right, Aguele, thank you. Ikechukwu Namani, still with us via Zoom from Lagos. Are you satisfied with the explanation provided by the DG NIMSI?
Yes, it's a good explanation of where things are, but there is another aspect which seems not to have been considered, and that goes towards the fact that the data already captured, especially from the telecom side. I've done both. I've done SIM registration. I've also gone through the NIMSI process to get my NII. In terms of the most important data that is needed, they are very similar. One, you have to provide a national ID. In my case, I think I use my international passport with all the data that is verified already there. You have to capture your biometrics, and then you have to take pictures and all that. So if the telcos already have a lot of this in their database, why not, as part of the process towards the integration, take most of what the telcos have, verify that it's accurate, and then issue NIMSI cards to those, or NIMSI's number in this case, to those people that are accurately captured by the telcos. That would drastically reduce the number of people without NIN number if that is done. But it's something worth exploring, because I remember that going through both process, the data to be captured, the most important data to be captured are very, very similar. So that is one area that I believe could help bridge the gap beyond what you already have. As long as the data from the telcos is proven to contain the most critical information, that can be a basis for NIMSI to issue NII numbers to some of these telecom subscribers. And then whatever details are needed that was not previously captured by the telco, a means can be made for those subscribers to provide those additional details so that their data at the NIMSI is updated with whatever is the missing data. Because as both a subscriber as well as a stakeholder in the telecom ICT sector, I'm personally concerned about cutting off a lot of subscribers after the deadline. We need to be very, very aware that this could create a lot of disruption in the entire ecosystem if people are cut off, if that deadline is not met. So we need to look at every way possible to ensure the deadline is met as much as possible, but beyond that, that we're taking steps, which I hear the DG repeated over and over again, that there will be more engagement with the government once that deadline is reached, to show progress that has been made and how to avoid a situation where the default will be to cut off subscribers.
Ikechukwu, thank you. And just before we go for a short break, I heard you say you had done your own SIM update, integration with your name. Please, can you clarify for us again so that our viewer will understand what we're talking about? Because this is the major concern for subscribers. What is required of subscribers who have their NIN number and need to, integrate or synchronize with their SIMs?
Okay, thanks for that. What I'm saying is, first, before I went for my NIM number, I already did my SIM registration with the various telcos. I subscribed to their service. So the operator already have my details. Now, when I went to get my NIM number, okay, one of the most important questions that I had to fill is my telecom numbers. So I have to list out my various telephone numbers on the NIMC registration portal also. Okay, so what we're going to be doing over the next 2 weeks, and it has been going on, is to integrate what the operators already have into the NIMC's database. That is going on as we speak, with the collaborations between NIMC and the telcos. Okay, that is already going on. But even if that is done, you're still going to have a situation where the telcos have more data captured than people have NIMs, quote unquote, right? So you're going to still have a big disconnect between the record that the telcos have in terms of the quantity and the number of operators that have the subscribers that have their NIM number. So is that disconnect? I'm saying, how do you bridge that? One way to bridge it is to say, hey, if the telcos have more data captured of subscribers, why not on the base? Why not NIMC also issues NIM number to those subscribers? And then whatever is missing in terms of additional data, the subscribers can be made to provide that within a reasonable timeline. So if you do that, you're going to bridge the gap significantly compared to what it is today. But the process is simple. If you go to get your NII number today, they're going to ask you for your telecom number. It's one of the things you need to fill beyond other data they are capturing. And that is the link that currently exists between both of them. So once the databases are harmonized, the only catch will not be the disconnect between the telcos have more data than you have at NIMC. So how do you bridge that gap? And that is where we are trying to reconcile.
Ikechukwu, thank you very much. We will just delay our break and get Engineer Gbenga Adebayo to respond to the point that you have made. Engineer Gbenga Adebayo, earlier, the point you made was clear, namely that 43 million Nigerians who already have their NIN and are subscribers to GSM services, you have a way of merging the data and exchanging the information. Now, there is a suggestion from Unamani that, look, you already capture a great deal of data yourself. And the DG NIMC says that telcos will also be NIN issuing centers. Why would there be a requirement still for in-person registration for a NIN, since the information you already have, presumably covering the required fields for the issuance of a NIN, are already in your possession? So just respond. Is this plausible, and what are the likely challenges or the issues that might arise?
Thank you. NIMC has to confirm if the data requirements as captured during the SIM rate meets with their own data requirement, and I'm glad that the DG is in the house. But I must also say that on the committee where we both serve, myself and the DG of NIMC, part of what we are now exploring is a protocol on how this can be integrated, and trying to see how we can take a few critical fields from the same reg data and use that as a feeder into the NIMC database. That's part of the protocol that we're exploring now. And with technology, we think that some of these things are doable, but because they are work in progress, I will only say that they are part of the things that we're exploring. But certainly, if those requirements captured during the SIM-REG meets with NIMC requirement, as a digital industry, there should be a way by which this integration can happen. But I must confirm that it's part of the options that we're exploring at this time in order to bridge the gap. But let me also add very quickly, in order to allay the fears of the public, and that's that the good thing now is that the 40 million plus that has been done by NIMC has been done only by their own effort. Now we have more players participating in that ecosystem, and most likely the access to those centers and the process of capture will be a lot easier. I must also remind all that the industry has done extensive SIM registration, so the sector is quite used to management of this kind of crowd and this kind of protocol and process. We think that with the elaborate collaboration we are now having with NIMC and one digital ecosystem, the road into those centers, if it will happen when it will happen, should be easier and better. We must look at the greater good of what we are trying to do as a country. We cannot have a country of this size, a population of this size that we have, and don't have a reliable and credible database. So it's something that has to happen, and we must commend government for having the political will to push that this happens. In terms of timing, at the appropriate time, we will present the report to government on where we are, and I'm sure that the right decisions will be taken. But we need the cooperation and buy-in of every member of the public to at least assist us in ensuring that working with the telcos and NIMC, that we're able to establish and develop reliable national database. And I think that is the key message that we must continue to drive among ourselves. We must look at the greater good for the benefit of all.
Thank you very much, Engineer Benga Adebayo. Aguela, you want to ask something very briefly?
It's a great question, just quickly. So I believe that initiative is part of the overall harmonization to look at other technical ways that SIM-REG information can be linked to NIN registration. But one thing to add about the complexity is the idea of standards. So for example, if you look at facial recognition, you have to collect an image on facial recognition under certain lighting, under certain standards for it to be able to work, right? So if, for example, telcos were collecting images 10 years ago and there's a new standard that NIMC has that works with facial recognition. I believe it's called the PPI level. While we may be able to integrate because we know the standards in which the data was collected may not be usable, right, for the future. So these are the things. It's really very complex. Yes. This is why they have to look at it this way.
Why you have to.
These are also matters that ordinarily, in terms of public policy, these are matters that should have been dealt with in the back room before issuing a 2-week deadline in the holiday season. Exactly. All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are broadcasting from our Abuja headquarters studios. We'll take a short break. Now, when we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
All right, thank you once again for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria and discussing with us this very important issue. And we appreciate the DG of NIMC and the other facilitators of this measure with us here in the studio. But DG, I know you want to speak to some of the issues that have been raised, but please take along with you the fact that since the announcement came and the issue of 30 December deadline, on the social media we've seen a lot of links, sites, some credited to you for people to update, you know, upload, check, and all that. And it would appear that, you know, these big boys are, you know, cashing in on this. Is there
fraudsters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there a link or a site where people can check their NIM number, access their NIM number, and upload to the telecoms?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. In fact, I've put it in my mind to be the last thing that I will talk about, that there's concern of you putting your NIN on a clear text, you understand, or sending that here is data breach. Because, and it is very, very important, and as you said, there are many, many things happening online that one needs to guard the NIN. That is why the NIN is not on the card. People have been questioning us. We said that is privacy by design. That is not supposed to be on the card because people will go and photocopy. Your NIN is like your secret number, so you need to guard it. Only when you go to provide a service that you are with the person before you can now give your NIN, okay? Or you are doing an electronic transaction that you are sure of the site. Therefore, what me and Benga agreed in our meeting yesterday is that all the links for the telcos, that we should also pass it to NCC to put on their website that these are the genuine links. If you don't see this code, don't agree, because the fraudsters will change something and say this is coming from MTN, but meanwhile it's fraudulent. So they have to check on the NCC website or NIMSIS website or the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. That is the instruction from the minister, so that people should verify. Always verify before you do anything else. And we have also agreed that our information security experts to have a group meeting this morning. This is also happening, so that to make sure that we come out with clear messaging for people.
But for now, do you have such things out? Do you have such links and not? Because there are quite a number.
Okay, we on NIMSI's side, we have like *346#, which is standard that we have been advertising for people.
And you're asked to pay 20?
For people to check their NIN. Also, the minister also instructed us and also the telcos to zero that account, that for this period that is going to be free for people to check. But after the period, because there are systems that to make this thing work, so it cannot be free. It's 20, that all the other ones too, that is 20. So it will still continue, or it may be reduced. If it is for the general public, it can be reduced. So that is the instruction of the minister. So we have that. We have all the offices too, because there are people that don't trust anything unless they go to the government office. And also the private sector that we are going to engage. We have just announced, and we are yet to finish the licensing aspect with them. So there are many requirements and the data protection. So, and then there are the ones from the telcos. For the telcos too, they have to put it on their website, because it's not that someone just sent you a text and tells you that do this and you agree. You should go to the website of MTN and check that that message is there before you can really do that.
I would like DG NIMSI, let's pause you in the meantime. I would like Engineer Benga Adebayo to also respond to this, because I mean I've received a deluge of text messages purporting to come from some of the telecom operators, and the links that I have seen in some of those ones, you just note clearly that this probably could be misleading. I don't have any business, clicking on those ones. But Engineer Benga Adebayo, what's your advice to subscribers who stand the risk of being done in by all kinds of unverified links and all kinds of verified handles to use to either check their NIN or upload their NIN or synchronize their NIN and their SIM?
The caution is to be careful and not to divulge their information unless the link is said to be protected. We are not aware of any website of any telecom operator where you can upload your NIN till now. We are not aware of any website. However, there are applications that have been developed by a number of the mobile network operators, and on these apps, you are led into providing those details after having completed certain parameters. So it's not that you just open the apps and they ask you to enter your NIN number. So you get to that stage after fulfilling other steps on other parameters of compliance. So the advice is that people should exercise caution in exposing their NIN information, and they should wait for instructions from their telecom service providers. And when in doubt, please call to the customer help desk of your service provider or customer help desk of the NCC. I can confirm that we do have applications running by different telecom providers on their own apps. And these apps are proprietary to the telecom operators, the individual telecom operators. But certainly we are not aware of any open link today where you can just open a website and then upload your link, for instance, of sending it to NIMSI. However, necessary guidance will be issued from time to time. Advisory will be provided from time to time. But the message here is a message of caution that people should not easily expose their NIN number without having to go through certain clear protocol of access and of security for reasons of protecting their own data and data information.
You may also have to rejig your customer service architecture, because sometimes you call the reception, the reception, they keep you up for a long time, and in the long run, they don't get back to you. So I think at this point in time, something needs to be done to your customer service, personnel, so that they become more proactive.
Also, to complement access to customer services, also we encourage the use of digital channels. In essence, a number of those applications are self-service and they are self-supporting. And for people who have smartphones, it's easier to actually open the apps and do whatever you want to do. And that can be quicker and easier than having to have a one-to-one contact with an operator. But that's taken as a feedback, and as part of the things we are doing in the scheme of things, we'll also see how that can be ramped up to make things easier and better for subscribers.
All right. Thank you very much, Engineer Benga Adebayo. I know what you mean when you say that all our agents are currently busy.
You know?
Please hold on for the next available agent.
And you wait indefinitely.
And your credit airtime is going. All right. We have a number of tweets that have come in from our viewers. We are going to go through them and then return to our guest. This is from Datsy Hutchison. It says, concerning the federal government's directive on a 2-week ultimatum to get over 160 million lines registered with NIN, and committing such projects into the hands of private agencies is totally wrong. Hence, I strongly agree with Kingsley's views on the matter. What are my views?
Well, your concerns about security. Yes, I think that's what he meant by that. Omogbala Babs, the issue of NIN registration didn't just start today. It's mentioned about 8 to 10 months ago. The hoopla from the public is just the usual attitude of the average Nigerian on laxity. It tells how we dilly-dally to get things done until the 11th hour. However, telecos should simplify the process.
Well, Amagbola Bob says 8 to 10 months ago. I hope he was also in this country during the lockdown when a number of government offices were also shut. I mean, we had the DG NIMSI here as our guest. We had very little activity in terms of public or even private sector in 2020. Aremu Ridwan has the next tweet. I think we've had enough data collection in this country. Voters card, national ID, driver's license, BVN, and others. Though they serve different purposes, but they still can be linked together. We need to work on our database. To ease the stress, the deadline must be extended.
The game changer. In my humble view, I think the registration should not be only with NIN. Other valid identification card like voter's card, driver's license can also serve. Limiting it to only NIN will cause much strain in the system, especially when you consider the short time frame given. Well.
All right, but I must say, Adamo, I think due to the reemergence of COVID-19 and in line with the guidelines to give room for distancing, the time limit is short and needs to be enlarged. However, it's unfortunate that we have conflicts of data in Nigeria.
And this is from Salihu Babai. It's the right thing to do at the right time. I strongly support this move, and any SIM card that is not linked should be blocked, including yours. May Allah bring an end to insecurity in Nigeria.
Ajone Olaoluwa, I implore you to enlighten the populace on how seamless the process is. Lack of understanding of the exercise is generating needless public outcry. That's part of what we are doing this morning, providing explanation And all the key players are here with us in the studios, including the DG of NIMC and the telecom operators and one of the private entities that is also involved in this.
Eunice Idris, the time frame is very short, but I salute the service providers for the creation of USSD code to link your NIM with your SIM. It linked all my SIM with the NIN in less than 5 minutes, but extension of time is needed for those without NIN. Thank you.
Mike Anyakwo, the SIM registration mandate is vital in view of the numerous crimes in our society. It's not so much SIM registration, it's the synchronization of your SIM registration with your NIN.
Okay, so Utula Sunday. This is not the right time for this, considering the second wave of COVID-19 and busy Yuletide period. There are seamless methods of doing it, if really the stakeholders involved are serious.
Suleiman Babagana says it's a step in the right direction due to its inherent importance of providing a database for security outfits, that is to say, which can then be used to detect crime. But however, the 2-week timeline is short, especially for rural dwellers, as connectivity there is not stable.
Okay, EO Fadaka, getting national ID has been problematic, so 2 weeks deadline is inadequate. Data from BVN, voters card license, driver license plus NIN, where available, can be integrated for SIM registration. It should be a continued exercise instead of fire brigade ultimatum.
Lasun Raji, it will go a long way in curbing insurgency, but considering that the bulk of our population, those who are uneducated and rural areas, the period appears too brief for the kind of national exercise we want to undertake.
I'm afraid we may not be able to take all the tweets.
Yes, I just wanted to, a number of other tweets have come in that practically say the same thing. We are pressed for time now. Aguela, tell us something. Look, I know that there are all kinds of feeds to capture, but one relating to address, for instance, and names, particularly in places where births have not been registered formally, because even the Population Commission still has that challenge. How do you deal with that? If I give you an address, for instance, and somewhere off this, off that, which is not anywhere on the map, which is not even anywhere traceable, how do you verify the information I'm giving to you at the point of registration? Briefly.
Wow, that's a very loaded question. And I will tell you, we actually do address verification for about 16 banks across Nigeria. We're one of the major KYC companies. So we have a lot of experience in this space. One of the problems we have is that addresses are not standardized yet in Nigeria. So it makes collecting address information from the interface very difficult, which allows companies like us to get junk data. It's something we're going to have to work through. We use a lot of technology to actually pin addresses. We help reconstruct addresses as well. When people give addresses, we help educate them. My chief's house is not an address, to put that information together and get it verified.
DJ, last word. What is the USSS code link, and what are those who have NIN now and need to integrate? What are they supposed to do briefly so that they get the process straight?
Well, the USSD code for checking NIN is *346#. *346#. And also that people that already have NIN, they don't need to do anything. We should work at the back end and integrate. Just like Ikechukwu says, we have already done similar thing with BVN. We have done a lot of records, a lot of people that will come to us, then we ask them for BVN and check that they already have a NIN. So the same thing that the telcos too have followed recently, we've been working together, as I said. So we will be able to integrate that data. So it is the quality that matters, not the quantity.
Okay, so DJ, subscribers with NIN number and need to integrate, you don't have to do anything. All the operators and telecoms are busy doing it at the back end. Thank you, DJ, engineer.
And so if you are cut off after December 30th, when you already have your NIN and SIM registration, sue.
Engineer Aliyu Aziz Abubakar, Director General, National Identity Management Commission, NIMC. We're very glad to have had you on this program today. I was afraid you were not going to make it, but we thank you for coming and obliging us your time. Let me also appreciate, first let me go to Lagos Network Center. Benga Adebayo, Chairman, Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, Alton. Thank you very much for your incisive contribution. Thank you. Also from Lagos via Zoom, Ikechukwu Nnamani, President, Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria, ATCON. Thank you, Ikechukwu, for also your contributions, and we wish you success. And finally, but certainly not the least, Mr. Isige Agwele, Chief Executive Officer, Verify Me Nigeria. Thank you very much also for sharing.
Thank you very much.
So, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today, and indeed for this week. It's Friday. I will do and have a good weekend. Kingsley?
All right, well, thank you for being with us. The program returns on Monday, same time, 7 in the morning. Until then, do take care of yourself, stay safe, and be well. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdurrazak. Bye-bye.